Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pallet of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Getting Started with Warhammer video. Now, as per usual with all this type of content, if you like it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing about from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. So, if you've seen them fairly recently on the channel, what I decided to do is to go through a theoretical Getting Started with the Age of Sigmar for just a budget of £200. In that series of video, we looked at every army in the high fantasy setting of the Mortal Realms, where I picked out what I personally would spend £200 on if I was starting a new army. Now, I then decided at the end of all of that to ask if it would be worth doing a 40k version in the poll section on the community tab on this page, and the poll said yes. So here we are. Now, I'm not going to lie, I am not the best with 40k. However, this is what I personally would pick. So these lists are fully based on what I would choose whether to buy, regardless of painting experience, unit functionality and ability. Plus, some of these picks are purely aesthetic. Some are for a laugh, and some is because I genuinely do like that mini. So we have to take it all with a bit of pinch of salt. Now, everybody is going to have their different opinions, so some people would choose completely different units to what I would pick, and so on. But this is what I would choose to kind of get me started and get me excited, give me a good variation of minis to build, paint and play with, to get going with, and yeah, happy days. Now, the way I've done this is because there are so many different chapters of Space Marines and such like, I have only picked out any forces that have combat patrol boxes. The main reason for that is because of the Space Marines, and the Space Marines do have several different combat patrol boxes depending on the chapter of Space Marine, which is a bit weird and a bit cool at exactly the same time. So the other thing I've done is I've done the same as what I did in the last series of videos. I've picked out pricing on Warhammer.com and on a third-party retailer. Now, the third-party retailer I've used for this video is Wayland Games, but as per usual, there are many other third-party retailers that you could pick, and there are some really good ones. So whether you're going to go to Goblin Gaming, Element Games, Leodis Games, or anyone like that, you've got a good range choice, and some of them do loyalty schemes, which are always worth looking into because you can earn some money back and such like, and save yourself some money later on. And they're always cheaper than GW on 90% of things. So this is a really, really good option for you. So, as I say, the disclaimer I have to put with this is the fact that there is going to be Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol magazine coming out, or maybe coming out, which contains 9 of Combat Patrol boxes, plus an extra unit for each faction during its run, providing its trial's been successful anyway. So you can always add to that magazine if you're going to collect that magazine later on, and give yourself some more minis with kind of an idea of what I'm picking on this list. The other thing I will say is I have also worked out the points value. However, this is only rough because certain options can give you different points values, so I've done it as roughly as possible, and yeah, it's in that region no matter what you pick, but yeah, you'll get the idea anyway. So I think we better, get started with 40k, and in all honesty, I'm going to go with the poster boys. So the lovely poster boys of a grim dark future of 41st millennium, the Space Marines. So this is the Ultramarine box essentially, and it's the generic Space Marines, so they are the normal bog standard blue armoured Ultramarines where we're going to begin. And first off, of course, we start with that Combat Patrol box, which contains a Captain in Terminator armour, a Librarian in Terminator armour, 5 Terminators with Power Fists, and 5 Infernus Marines. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is not a lot of minis for your money. £95 these boxes are from GW, and you're only getting 12 minis in that box, which seems like a bad deal, in all honesty. For me, I'm very, very keen on having a good deal and a good saving and such like, and 12 minis is poor. Very, very poor. So, it's not the best. But you do get some really good minis, so if I personally was going to be picking up this, in all honesty, I'm not going to lie, I would wait for a Combat Patrol magazine to come out, because it'll work out cheaper in the long run. Far, far cheaper than paying £95 for, 12 minis, which isn't great. But the sculpts of the new Terminators are really quite nice. The Captain in Terminator armour and the Librarian in Terminator armour are very, very nice minis, and I do really, really like them. So yeah, you get some good sculpts, but it's just expensive, really, for what it is. Then, I personally would be adding something extra onto it, of course, in there, and I would actually go with a Primaris Apothecary. So, they have a duty that concerns the dead, as the Apothecary can harvest the progenoid organs from fallen Space Marines and such like, and they have some pretty unique abilities, and they look pretty cool, and there's not too bad. There's 2 different ones that I've seen, and they look both really, really cool. So, they're decent minis. So, this one's probably a bit of a purely aesthetic kind of thing for me, but I would take one of these guys in just for a giggle. And then I would add more troops. So in the shape of these troops, I would actually be adding the Primaris Infiltrators. They wear the Phobos armour, so it's slightly skinnier, they're designed for stealth, they're a bit sneaky, they love smoke grenades, and yeah, bit of fun. I like the Phobos armour Space Marines, I think they look really, really nice, so I would definitely take some of these guys. Then, we have one last thing that I would personally pick up, and that's actually the Predator Annihilator. It's one of the slightly older version tanks, however, it's really, really nice, and I think sometimes the classic Space Marine tanks are better looking than the newer ones that have that hover propulsion system and such like, which I'm not really a big fan of, but they look really cool, and I genuinely do like that one, so why not? Now, if you were going to be buying that entire army from Warhammer.com, for instance, it's essentially slap bang on £200. It's yeah, not the greatest. If you go to Wayland Games, in all honesty, this is a little bit weird. The Combat Patrol box for the Space Marines is not listed on there, but if it was, the average is £76 for Combat Patrol boxes on Wayland Games. So using that price point, you're paying around about £160. It is an 815 point army. It's not too bad, and it's yeah, a little bit weird. And during this series, in all honesty, you're going to see how unbalanced the points values on these 40k armies can be, just based off of the Combat Patrol boxes alone. So yeah, it can be a bit odd. Now, right, we have now got the poster boys of 41st Millennium out of the way. And in all honesty, I'm going to stick with the Space Marines. And I'm actually going to go over to the Space Wolves, because I won't lie, this is probably my favourite chapter of all the Space Marines, because they have a unique look. They have, from what little I know of their lore and background, they have a really unique lore and background. And yeah, they're just a bit cooler, really. So, without further ado, let's crack on with it. Firstly, of course, we pick up that Combat Patrol box as per usual, which contains a Primaris Lieutenant, which this sculpt is also known as a Wolf Guard Pack Leader. It's pretty cool, it's pretty different, it's pretty ace, and I do genuinely like this mini. I think it looks pretty damn good. Then you get an Invicta Tactical Warsuit, which is also really cool, which has a Space Marine sat in a warsuit instead of being the Dreadnoughts, where they're kind of in a sarcophagus inside it, which is cooler, in all honesty, than those. Then you get 10 Primaris Intercessors and 5 Primaris Reavers. You also get 2 of the Space Wolves upgrade frames, which you need for these to kind of fit the Intercessors and Reavers, with the Space Wolf shoulder pads and such like, and the little tassels and add-ons and things that can kind of make them a bit more Space Wolvy, in all honesty. So that's a really, really good start. Obviously, with these type of armies as well, with these different chapters, if you are going to be getting them and you're going to get some of the generic boxes of Space Marines, you will need to add these sprues on just to bump them into the right place and kind of make them fit in. Right, then, in all honesty, I would add another HQ unit to this army list in the shape of Ragnar Blackmane, the Jarl of the Blackmanes, who's eager to plunge headfirst into battle. He's a great sculpt, it looks really, really cool, genuinely a lovely, lovely mini. So I would definitely pick this up just to add to it, just to kind of get it going. So really good stuff there. Then I would take a box of Grey Hunters, which I may be wrong on this, but I'm fairly sure these are older sculpts, so these are slightly smaller than the Primaris Marines, but they look pretty damn cool at the same time, and obviously, you know, some of them have some gnarly beards, so why not? And then finally, for the Sons of Russ, I would actually take a box of Wulfen. The main reason for this is these are 5 minis who are berserk. They've given into the curse that afflicts the Space Wolves, which is known as Canis Helix, and they look more like werewolves, which look pretty ace. Who doesn't like a werewolf at the end of the day? And that's kind of it. So it's not a bad army to kind of get going with. It's a 700 point army list, or in that around that region anyway. Costs about £195 if you're getting it from GW. If you're going to some third party retailers, you're looking in the region of about 156 quid, which is a pretty decent bargain, because then you're left with a decent chunk of change to kind of put into more units and bulk out that army if you wish to. So it's not too bad. So if you're looking to start a new army for 40k, maybe one of these two is the one for you. But if you wanted to change a few bits around, you can, of course. We're not taking into account any painting ability with any of these lists. It's just purely my choice, without taking 2 of the combat patrol boxes, which is sometimes the easiest way to build up a decent sized army. Now, that's only 2 factions from the 41st millennium. There are plenty more, and we will go through them throughout this series. So thank you very, very much for watching this first episode, and yeah, we'll have a crack at the next one soon. Thank you, bye bye now.